Prime Minister Netanyahu just spoke to the conference of presidents of major Jewish organizations. They had a big conference here in Jerusalem. Let's check out Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech, an English language speech, and really a policy speech about what he thinks is the future vis-a-vis Iran, Gaza, and other things. Here's Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Well, it's that time of the year again, and we meet here annually, and things obviously change, and mostly for the better, but we still have challenges. I just came back from the United States for a very important meeting with President Trump. Obviously, the focus was on Iran. The president is determined to exhaust the possibilities of achieving a deal which he believes can be achieved now because of the circumstances that have been created, the force projection, and the fact that, as he says, Iran must surely understand that they missed out last time, and he thinks there's a serious probability that they won't miss out this time. I will not hide from you that I express my skepticism of any deal with Iran because, frankly, Iran is reliable on one thing. They lie and they cheat. But I said that if a deal is to be reached, it should have several components that we believe are important not only for the security of Israel, but for the security of the world. The United States, the region, the world. The first is that all enriched material has to leave Iran. The second is that there shall be no enrichment capability, not stopping the enrichment process, but dismantle the equipment and the infrastructure that allows you to enrich in the first place. And the third is to deal also with the questions of ballistic missiles. There's an MTCR limitation of 300 kilometers, and Iran is supposed to adhere to it. Of course it doesn't, as the Rising Lion operation by itself manifested. Everybody knows that. And the fourth is dismantle the axis of terror that Iran has built. It's been smashed, but it's still there. It's trying to recover, as Iran itself is trying to do. And the last thing is, remember Ronald Reagan's dictum vis-a-vis the Soviet Union? Trust but verify, distrust, distrust, and always verify. So there has to be real inspections, substantive inspections, no lead time inspections, but effective inspections for all of the above.
So these are things that the Prime Minister would like to see vis-a-vis Iran, but we all understand that what he's really saying is get rid of these guys, right? These are the things that they're doing that actively threaten us, their nuclear capability, their ballistic missiles. They have to be verified, and the support of other terror networks. What it really means is these guys are bad, and he's already made it clear that he's got a disagreement with President Trump. President Trump wants to see dialogue and negotiation happen. He wants the art of the deal to keep arting the dealing. But Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to get rid of these guys. And it could be this whole thing is a ruse. We've been rused already a few times, right? It could very well be that this is all a bluff and that indeed there's going to be a strike later on. That could be. But it could be not. It could be that Prime Minister Netanyahu really has a difference of perspective. But he's saying to President Trump, if you're going to negotiate, these are the points that are important for Israel's national security and for global security.
These are the elements that we believe are important for the achievement of a deal. And I presented our position very clearly. We also spoke about Gaza. I think we set out when we went to, after we were massacred on October 7th, we set up three goals vis-a-vis Gaza. The first one was to return all the hostages. The second was to disarm or dismantle Hamas's military capabilities. And the third is to dismantle Hamas's governing capabilities. The first has been achieved with the help of the United States and First of all, with the help of our brave soldiers, our incomparably courageous soldiers.
Our soldiers are brave, no doubt about it. The question if the policy is brave, right? That's the real issue. Is the policy brave? And I have to say that I don't think it's been a very brave policy. It's been a strongish policy, but like to the real brave thing to do would have been to say, we're rolling back the disengagement from Gaza. We're taking it back over. We're going to bravely control this population. We're going to help a lot of them leave. We're going to help a lot of them become be refugees because that's what they are. But we're going to govern this land. That would have been brave. The soldiers, I know they're brave. I know they're brave. We know that. The question is, do we have brave policy that's going to change the future? Right now, I see a very similar kind of situation in Gaza. We've come back. We haven't changed the whole chessboard. And I know there's going to be the kind of people who say, look, we've smashed them and we've smashed them, but there's still tunnels. There's still Hamas still has weapons. He's going to talk about that. They're still in control. Why? It's a sandbox. Destroy them. Control it. Take it. Make it better with no ifs, ands, or buts. So I'm not so sure that we have a brave policy that's commensurate with the courage that the soldiers have shown.
The support that we got from President Trump and his team, the support we got from you and so many around the world, and the decisions that we made not to cower and not to submit to the pressures that were put on us from outside and from inside. We stood our ground. We got every single one of these people out, including the last hero, Rani Gvili, incredible hero.
But we didn't get everybody out because the land of Israel is still being held hostage. And this war was never about getting everybody out. It was always about destroying Hamas so that could never again happen. Could it happen right now? It could happen right now. So therefore, I would say, to change the narrative that the war was all about bringing everybody home, that was I have to say, that was a Hamas Iranian script. It was never our script. Our script was to rescue as many as possible, of course, but to make sure that it never happens again and to destroy Hamas utterly. That is far from happened. That is not what has happened. And that is a disappointment. No matter how you spin it, it's pretty obvious that we lost big on October 7th. And we haven't exactly regained the proper posture that we should be in.
But there are so many others. We stood our ground there. We also stand our ground on the other two things that have to happen. Under President Trump's 20-point plan, when we move to phase B, what has to happen is that Hamas must first be disarmed.
See, this is crap. I'm sorry. See, when I'm hearing this stuff, I'm just like, this is just junk. The original Trump plan, which was like gates of hell, open the doors, let all the refugees out, get them out, turn this into a new Riviera. That was a plan. This whole phase B business and all that, letting the Turks and the Qataris and the Indonesians to be involved in the reconstruction of Gaza. No, it's not a strong posture. It's not a victorious posture. And for you, Prime Minister Netanyahu, it's not the stuff of legacy. I'm sorry. And Prime Minister Netanyahu never said that he was going to take over Gaza, that he was going to and have you ever seen what Gaza is? It's just this thing. It's just this little box. That's how small Gaza is. It was that. I'm not going to do it again. But that is what Gaza is. And we should have held that. We should be holding on to that piece of land instead of the evil folks that are in control of it. And I'm sorry, this is no solution. And, we respect Prime Minister Netanyahu, and he did a lot of good stuff. But when it comes to Gaza, he didn't have the vision to walk back the dreaded disengagement, which was such evil. My wife and I were down there in Gaza protesting against it, and yet we're still living with this thing. We're still living after October 7th. We're still living with a Gaza in jihadi hands.
And then Gaza must be demilitarized. Disarmed means that it must give up its weapons.
Nobody's going to demilitarize it unless you control it and rule it. Come on. That is such sham crudola. That's just silly. Just shammy stuff. They've got to demilitarize. It's not going to happen. There's only one way it's going to demilitarize. If you demilitarize them, they will be demilitarized. And the only way you're going to demilitarize them is if you're in control of that land. It's simple.
In weapons. And one of them, people said heavy weapons. There are practically no heavy weapons in Gaza. There's no artillery, there are no tanks. There's nothing. The heavy weapon, the one that does the most damage, is called an AK-47. Okay? That's it. That's how they execute people. That's how they shoot our people. That's what they use. Assault rifles. That's what they used in the massacre of October 7th. That's what they used. That's what they did the worst massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust with AK-47s. 60,000 of them. They have to go outside. Obviously, RPGs, rockets, and so on. But that's the main weapon, and that has to go. So first, disarm Hamas, and second, demilitarize Gaza. What does that mean? They still have tunnels there. We dismantled about 150 kilometers of 500 kilometers of tunnels. We have to complete the job. That means also that you can't hide weapons labs or other facilities that they use to rearm themselves, regroup, and reform, which they're trying to do. We're giving the president's plan a chance. And he put it very succinctly. He said, it can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way. We hope
it could also be done the smart way or the stupid way. It could be done the smart way or the stupid way. The smart way is to be like, you know what? We gave up our land in 2005. It was blew up in our face. Our whole military was lulled to sleep. Qatari money was flowing through the state of Israel into Hamas through you, Prime Minister Netanyahu. You literally passed millions of dollars every month of Qatari money into Hamas's hands. You were fooled. You were part of that conception. You made a big mistake. Your military leaders made a big mistake. And now the only way to do it is to roll it back and not to try the same old, same old. They're armed and dangerous. They're raising a new generation. They're literally killing their own people over there, but we're allowing it. We're allowing it. Instead of liberating that land, cleaning all that environmental damage, taking back our sea. You know, the Gaza was Judah. It was the tribe of Judah. And it is not in our hands today, and it should be in our hands. And the opportunity to destroy and evict jihadis was in our hands. They gave you every excuse, but you didn't take it all the way. You took it part of the way, like King Saul took it part of the way, and that is just going to. We're just kicking the can down the road. That's all it is. It's just kicking the can down the road, and it's disappointing. And it's not the easy way or the hard way. It's the smart way or the stupid way, or it's the simple way and the unnecessarily complex way. That's what we're dealing with.
It'll be done the easy way, because we know the ravages of war. We know what it means to lose people. We know the human cost of war. But that goal has to be achieved one way or the other, and one way or the other, it will be achieved. In the meantime, when there's a ceasefire, it doesn't mean that we can't do anything. They attack us, including yesterday and today. We killed 13 terrorists. We act in response.
That's what they should have clapped for. These American Jews were like, are we supposed to clap for that we just killed 13 terrorists? Yeah, you're supposed to clap for that. Great. Kill bad guys. Get rid of them. Don't be embarrassed about that, American Jews. Don't be embarrassed about Israel destroying bad guys. It's good for the world. The world's a better place when there's less bad guys. Lovers of God must hate evil and eradicate evil.
We don't wait. We just do. They don't have a free reign, but we are giving them the time, giving the ISF, the International Security Force, and the President's Board of Peace and the various groups, various bodies that are under it, giving them the opportunity to try to do it the easy way. Again, we shall see.
What does that even mean? When do jihadis do things the easy way? It's just like silly sounding. It just sounds silly to me. It's like we're giving them a chance. What? You gave them land. You gave them land and let them take over a piece of the land of Israel. You gave them a chance. Then they mutilized you. Like, what else do you want to give them? This talk of giving them a chance, whatever. I mean, I'm sure that Prime Minister Netanyahu is just trying to kind of give in to President Trump's deal business. But come on, like, don't lie to us. You know what I mean? Don't lie to us. It's just silly. It's just silly to hear, like, we're giving them a chance. Don't give them a chance. There's no reason to give them a chance. Give them hell.
And it will be done. Gaza will not pose a threat ever again.
But what about posing not a threat? What about posing beautiful beaches for the Jewish people and lovers of Israel and residents and citizens of the state of Israel to go down and visit that beautiful thing instead of allowing our land to be so gutted and full of ruins? It's disgusting to me. It makes me cry to see my land treated that way. It's not just about them not being a threat. What does that even mean? Let me simplify it. If it's not in our hands, it's going to be a threat. Just be real about this thing. Just be real. If it's not in our hands, it's going to be a threat, or else it's going to be this thing with a fence and a constant army presence. We're constantly going to have to fight it, and make sure it's not a threat, but it's kicking the can down the road because it's going to be a threat if it's not in our hands.
State of Israel.
I wouldn't clap for that.
Now, obviously, we have other fronts. The most important one is the front of vilification to the Jewish state and the Jewish people and the rampant anti-Semitism, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I want to bring to your attention what is happening because you will not know it if you turn on the television stations and so on, depends which, of course, you wouldn't know what is happening here. The most important thing that is happening is that people are coming to us. Nations are coming to us. Companies are coming to us. Enormous economic powers are coming to us. Israel has been ranked by The Economist, not a particular fan of me or the state of Israel in recent years, but it ranked the Israeli economy among the 3 most vibrant economies in the world, just now. Now, this comes after 2 years of war. 2 years. It's our longest war. It's even longer than the War of Independence. 2 years of being savaged in the international media and so on, in the UN and all these associated bodies. Our economy is growing rapidly. Our stock market is at an all-time high. The shekel versus the dollar is at almost at a 30-year high. Inflation is going down. There's very little of it. Interest rates have gone down. Not enough. More. But it's at 4% now. It'll go down further. And the investments in Israel are huge. Now, why is that happening? 1, because we run the economy responsibly. We know how to do that. 2, because we have the war showed the prowess of Israel, the enormous capacities here, the high-tech, deep-tech capabilities that astonish the world. That is not only in the military field. It has immediate consequences in the civilian field, and people understand it. So they come here. Now, as I said, countries come here. Chancellor of Germany was here at his initiative. We'd like to talk to about our defense industry, in which they want to invest a very, very large amount of money. Who's coming here next week? Narendra Modi. Tremendous alliance between Israel and India, and we are going to discuss all sorts of cooperation. Now, India is not a small country. It has 1.5 billion people. In India, Israel is enormously popular. Enormously popular. Did you know that? Yeah, you do. Good. I'm glad you know it. But I want all of you to know it. And there are other countries that are coming to us, one after the other. There's been a change, as you know, in Latin America. You know, the first one obviously is the constancy of some of our friends. Argentina, among them, a tremendous friend tremendous friend, and deserves tremendous applause. Millet. But there are others. There's Ecuador and Paraguay and Bolivia and so on. I think there are about 7 countries right now, and I'm remiss in not calling their names, but the number is growing all the time. Chile. Any more? No, come on, tell me. What? Panama, thank you. Others? Honduras, yes. So have I left out anyone? That's not a Latin American country. Well, there are more. There are more in Asia than you could possibly believe. And some of them are reticent about it. Some of them are less reticent. Some of them are open about it. They're coming because Israel is a powerful engine. It's a juggernaut on innovation and technology that is changing the world. About 10 years ago, I said that Israel will be among the top 3 cyber powers in the world. I was wrong. Well, I was right, but it's number 2. Israel, tiny Israel, 10 million people, receives more foreign investments in cyber tech than any other country in the world except the United States. I'm talking about absolute numbers. That's what we did in 10 years. Guess what? We're going to do exactly the same thing in AI. We just signed a major agreement with the United States on AI cooperation. We're going to do the same thing in quantum. This is our advantage, and we pursue it with a vengeance. Israel is a very strong country coming out of the war. Coming out of the war strong economically, strong militarily, strong technologically, and we intend to be a lot stronger.
Strong militarily, strong technologically, economically, and the third wing is where Prime Minister Netanyahu is always a little bit weak, because he does not know how to play both of these trajectories at the same time. The third trajectory is strong spiritually, and those actually complement one another, and they work well with one another. Strong Tel Aviv, strong economics, strong technology, strong medicine is coupled together with a strong military, strong control, strong border safety, strong national security, and then strong spirituality, where Jerusalem is the heart of the world, where it pings to the world a message of God, of connecting to the Bible, of connecting to the path of the forefathers and mothers, of connecting to morality, of family, spirituality, Sabbath, honoring the forefather, the parents, honoring your father and mother. All of these concepts, they are intertwined. People like Prime Minister Netanyahu, he's got a lot of strengths, and so far the stuff that he's talking about now about economics and Israel being strong, I love that stuff. I love it. I only think that we should develop also other fields, including medicine. I think that we should be a great medical leader in the world. So I agree with that. And I think that he himself has a lot to do with that. But he doesn't know how to talk about, Jerusalem in the same breath. He knows how to talk about it if he's like in a religious, type of rally, but he doesn't know how to talk about it in the same breath. Jerusalem, the spiritual capital of the world. And that's a limitation. But of course, he's a great man in other ways. I don't agree with what he's done in Gaza at all. But here's another thing where I wish he's able to say, yes, Israel is also a spiritual superpower.
Now, why am I telling you this? Because I believe, and by the way, the United States just issued a Security Council memorandum, and it described its vision of regional alliances and anchor countries. And it's called Israel, the model ally. The model ally. An ally that obviously believes in democratic principles, but is willing to fight for itself. We don't ask for American boots on the ground. We develop our own arms industry. By the way, that's something I discussed too with President Trump, with deep appreciation for American support given over the years by both parties, both sides of the aisle, for Israel's military assistance. But I said, just as I said when I was first elected in 1996, first time I was elected, I said, we have come of age economically, or we will reform our economy with free market principles, so we don't really we can afford to give up over a phased period the economic aid that we were receiving at the time, which was financial aid, which was $1.2 billion. That was a lot of money in those days. Our GDP per capita at the time was $17,000. Now it's going to be very soon $65,000 per capita. And in 10 years, we'll have a $1 trillion economy. Now, that's not a huge economy, but it's not a small economy either. So we can afford to phase out the financial component of the military aid that we're receiving. And I propose a 10-year drawdown to zero. Now, in the 3 years that remain in the...
I mean, I think that that's great, but I don't know. I don't like this 10-year business. If he would have said 3 years, you know, I think that would have been a real like policy that people could have been excited about, and you could have gotten a lot of, you know, anti-Israel folks off our back in the United States, and or you could have said, listen, and this is the suggestion that we've been giving for so many years, such a simple suggestion. One of the main things that we've suggested over and over again is it doesn't even matter if America wants to put money into a pot for joint defense development, just take it off of the foreign aid category. Just put that into zero immediately right now. Just be like, there's no foreign aid from America. Israel does not need foreign aid. That's done. Not 10 years, not 3 years, nothing. That's done right now. There is a kitty. There is a fund for joint defense development that America's interested in because it wants to develop stuff with Israel. Just do that right now. If you're going to stick to that language of bringing foreign aid down to zero, don't say 10 years. That's too long. Make it 3 years. Like, let's make it happen. Let's bring it down to zero, and that's it. And people will believe that. And you can have it done, you know, in your next prime ministership if you get elected in the next term. But I don't like that. And in general, I would say let's take off foreign aid to zero. That's what I would say.
Present memorandum of understanding, and another 7 years. Draw it down to zero. Israel will support itself and does, just as we fight for ourselves. At the same time, we want to move with the United States from aid to partnership because we have phenomenally gifted technologists and developers of all sorts of defense systems. And we share it with our friend, the irreplaceable friend of the United States. But we want to have now joint investments. We put in one part, they put in an equal part, and we share the fruits. But our goal is to build an independent arms industry in Israel. I think the entire...
And that's great. I love that. Independent arms industry. That's absolutely key for national security. And I love this direction. You know, I had this little joke that I used to make that Israeli arms should be these like guns that within a few moves, you kind of shift it around and suddenly it's a plowshare. You know, we have to like be ready to transform them into plowshares. Like they got to have that ability. It's like, oh, look, it's actually, you know, a farming tool. And then if there's a problem, you go, and there it is. It's actually, you know, a shoot 'em up gun. But I like this idea very much. Again, I like the idea of what I always think in like triangles and threes. You know, I like the triad of military strength and prowess in the region, including controlling Gaza, controlling the Sinai Peninsula, controlling the sea lanes, controlling all the way to the Persian Gulf and to the Mediterranean. So military control, that's always first, because when you have military control, you can be safe and you have national security. Then the next thing is economic development, including trade, tourism, medical, and obviously AI and all that stuff. I would love to see Israel become a nuclear energy supplier. And then beyond that, and at the heart of it all, is a spiritual superpower as well, right? And that spiritual superpower is Yerushalayim, a house of prayer for all nations, and a ping and a message to the world to come closer to God. Israel cannot just be a strong economic power and a military power. That's missing the thing that is Israel, right? Like there's a reason there's an Israel in this world, and it's not to be an America or a China. That's not the superpowerness that we are destined or tasked with doing. Our superpowerness is to be a light unto the nations, a godly nation, a nation that reflects God in this world. And that has to be part of the mix. And we need a prime minister who could also talk that talk. But, you know, thank God for the ones that we have.
The world understands what kind of world we enter And that's something that we intend to do. I'm saying all this about our capacity to defend ourselves, our strength, because it relates to the last point that I want to make to you. I think people are probably shocked by the waves of anti-Semitism that are sweeping those societies, free societies, the United States, Europe, Australia, where we had the tragedy on the Bondi Beach and elsewhere, and in America itself. And that is indeed shocking. Well, it isn't necessarily shocking if you see the cycles of anti-Semitism throughout the ages. Yes, anti-Semitism had a brief respite. It did, respite after World War II, after the Holocaust, but it came back. It was quite prominent before World War II. No one here is old enough to have known Father Coughlin. Do you know who Father Coughlin was? Do you want to describe to them who Father Coughlin was?
Semi-domestic radio audience and a lot of influence in America.
From Detroit. Yep. Okay, so some of you are old enough. Well, he was an isolationist, he was a rabid anti-Semite and so on. And of course, World War II, it was enormously powerful. And then came World War II, and we know the rest. And now it's rearing its putrid and ugly head again. Okay, it is. But if you look at the course of Jewish history, then what you see is that this was a fairly constant phenomenon. I mean, once we had lost our land, once we were scattered among the nations, we were ready prey. We were ready prey. And eventually, when there was societal change, the Jews always were blamed. And we were blamed in antiquity, 500 years before the birth of Christ. People don't know about the Hellenistic.
Yeah. Don't use that terminology, Beebster. We don't say that. You could say the Christian God. You could say, we don't believe that the Christian God is anointed, and I just would not use that terminology with Jews, with anybody. It confuses people. Don't use that terminology. The other thing I want to say is, and this is very important, I had a realization. It's a new realization, and I'm a little bit scared to put it out there because of the bad guy that I'm talking about. The American anti-Semites, they're basically positing that there's a boogeyman out there called the Zionists and the Jews. They control everything. They control the media and the banks, and they're all powerful and all that kind of stuff. I started thinking to myself, who would be interested in promulgating this idea that the Jews control everything? Probably an entity that is trying to control everything, and I mean China, right? Imagine like if so many Americans are coming to the conclusion that China's trying to take over everything here. They're listening into everything. They're stealing technologies. They're doing this, that. They're doing all these things, right? And it's like, why not blame the Jews? That will definitely throw people off the scent. Like, I want to be like, hey, Tucker Carlson, like, do you think that the Jews control the world and want to undermine America, or is it China? Right? Then I'm like, wow, China really wants to make Israel the boogeyman. And I have one proof that China is a big is using anti-Semitism to throw people off the scent. They're one of the biggest promulgators of anti-Semitism. Just nobody wants to say it. It's called TikTok. So on TikTok, there's a lot of anti-Israelism. Oh, Israel's dangerous. Oh, Israel is trying to control the world. Oh, the Jews are trying to control the world. That is actually being promulgated by the entity that really does want to control the world. And I'm sure it's even semi-dangerous for me to talk about that. And somebody's saying to me, I want to comment on this. Somebody says, Yishai, I know this is your channel. However, truth is truth. Deny Yeshua and you are dead wrong. The moment you understand biblical prophecy and understand the Messiah did actually come. I'm sorry, I don't accept the divinity of the Christian texts. I don't accept the language of a New Testament. That name itself is anathema to me. I respect and love my brothers in love of God, love of the Bible, love of Israel. I respect very much anybody that has a theological outlook and yearns to do what God wants and to understand God. I very, very much respect that, tremendously respect that. And that's why I have many, many friends, and I don't need them to convert to my ideology. And I don't, and those good friends of mine don't need me to convert to their ideology. We respect one another. But I will not accept that. And my forefathers and mothers have never accepted that. And that is the position of this show. And I, if you want, I could go into a theological diatribe about why I think so, but I'm not going to, because that's not what this is about. This show is about people who want to get closer to God through the Bible, through Israel, and believe that. If they hold on to other beliefs, that's their business. But I can't allow proselytizing on this channel for a different position. And there's many good channels that do that stuff. I can't do it. I'll never do it. And I am here to represent authentic Torah Judaism without rancor, without hate for anybody else, but also without accepting proselytization. And believe me, I have excellent Christian friends, and they are my brothers and sisters. It's not fake at all. It's real all the way to the core. But on this issue, as somebody writes here, I think that's great. Grateful for Yishai and boundaries. Absolutely, we have boundaries, and those Christians that love me, they also respect my boundaries, and we have an understanding. And I have a phrase about this, which Yo just put up, which is let's agree to agree. We have so much that we agree on. Let's talk about that. As you can see, by the way, I also have many things that I feel about Prime Minister Netanyahu. Many things I respect him, and I'm able to keep that respect. But there's things that I completely, strongly disagree with him, and I think that he's been very weak on. And both are true. And you can't have both of these things at the same time. All right, let's give Prime Minister Netanyahu a chance to finish off his speech that he gave today for the conference of presidents of major Jewish organizations that have their yearly conference here in Jerusalem.
Anti-Semitism that was here in the diaspora. And then what happened in the Middle Ages, you are familiar with. And it happened in modern times. And these attacks on the Jews were always preceded by vilification, horrible vilifications that even so-called civilized and educated people adhere to. The Jews poisoned the wells, the Jews spread vermin, the Jews slaughter Christian children to use their blood for baking matzahs. And this goes into modern times. The Nazis basically said the same thing. And all these vituperations, all these slanders were always accompanied eventually by either exile or pogroms or mass murder. That's what happened to the Jews, one country after the other, into modern times. I think the great change in Jewish history was brought about by the great change in Jewish history, which Herzl saw very clearly, was that when the Jews have their own independent state, they will have the independent power to roll back the physical attacks against us. We suffered during the diaspora from two things that converged and created enormous and repeated tragedy. We were at once prominent and weak. And when you are both prominent and weak, you invite a human quality that happens between individuals, but also between nations. It's called envy. And when you envy someone and you can attack them, then you do. And that is essentially the story of the Jews. It's a simplification of anti-Semitism, but it tells you a great deal of what underpinned it. Well, with the rise of Israel, the Jewish state is definitely prominent, but it is no longer weak. On October 7th, they thought they'd do a Holocaust on us. That was the goal. If they could get away with it, they'd murder every last person, every last woman, child, infant that they could, which is what they did. But we rolled them back after day one with horrible consequences. We lost 1,200 innocent people. In the Holocaust, October 7th happened every day, 5,000 times. 5,000 times. We don't let a day of such tragedy go by. We roll back our enemies. We're in the process of destroying the remainder of that terror axis. We can fight back. And countries are coming to us because we have that strength. And I submit to you that that strength is something that we have to display in every country. In Australia, in Europe, in the United States, everywhere. I say to you in front of these villages.
I like everything he's saying here, Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying, but I just want to say that had we bombed the Rafah crossing so that folks could escape out of there, had we turned off the electricity and the water and the gas that powered the turbines of the tunnels and had forced people to come up, had we fought the combatants and destroyed them utterly, had we fought this war in such a way as that we took control of the Gaza Strip in toto in a matter of weeks and cleared out the jihad, had we shown no mercy to the jihadists and ended up being with zero jihadists in the Gaza Strip and then Jewish control, had we proclaimed that the disengagement was wrong and a mistake, and that we're rolling back that doctrine, I'm telling you, there would be a lot less anti-Semitism in the world. The world would be stunned. And anti-Semites would be like, whoa, Israel's really powerful. And just put my head down because there's no point in fighting the Jews. They're strong. Had we done those things, we'd have much less anti-Semitism. The fact that we have anti-Semitism is really due to a few factors. One of them is that the anti-Semites planted a campaign that we did not foresee, which means our intelligence failed in this non-kinetic but very powerful narrative war. And the other thing is that we were not as strong as we could have been. And the fact that there's jihadis in Gaza give anti-Semites a sense that they could still defeat the Jewish state. So we could have done more in the very vein that the prime minister is talking about. We could have had a different position had we really utterly destroyed the bad guys after the 7th of October.
Beautifications, do not cower. Do not bend. Do not bow your head. Fight back. Because people respect those who respect themselves. And the minorities that fought back, whether it's the blacks or the gays or women, they fought back. And what we have to do as Jews, both here in Israel and in the various Jewish communities around the world, beginning with the United States, is to fight back. Silence will not help. Looking askance will not help. Fight back. That's what I tell you. That's what I tell young Jewish students that I meet. I'm very proud of them when I meet them. I see that they have this inner fire. But it must be a policy. We fight back. There's going to be a media war. There's a digital war. Yes, I know all of that. And we're going to fight it together. But the most important thing is that you are willing, God, I hate to borrow this phrase, fight, fight, fight. You have to fight back. The first requirement to defeat anti-Semitism is to fight anti-Semitism. It's the only way. There's no other way. We do so, obviously, on the battlefield and the physical manifestations of those who want to slaughter us, and we're very successful in. But we have to do it on the information level or the disinformation level as well. And I guarantee you that if we do so, the Jewish future, as you see in this remarkable state, the Jewish state, the state of our people, will have a remarkable future. And we'll see you next year in Jerusalem. Thank you very much.
All right, very special to hear from the Prime Minister speaking in English with such clarity. That is really a cool thing to, and this happened just a few hours ago. And I think the messages are powerful. And I think I added a few messages, especially about Jerusalem and Israel being a spiritual superpower. And, he made a whole speech there without mentioning God. And that to me is, that's not strength. That's kind of, it's a kind of weakness. If you talk about Israel being strong economically, militarily, and you can't stop and say, listen, the God of Israel, he made this happen. And yes, we have these problems, this, so we're going to solve it. But God gave us the strength. And that's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is simple. push forward, do what you can, be strong, be smart, be powerful, have good policies, build and live and be alive. And I'm Yisrael Chai, but then look up and say, thank you, God, for the strength. You have given me the strength. It's easy. It's really easy. It's easy to do that. And here's a whole speech, about a 30-minute speech, but there was no room to say, and Baruch Hashem, thank Hashem, we had an amazing, we had amazing victory, and our economy is doing well. It's God's blessings. At the end, He's protecting us. God is giving us these blessings, and He's giving us the blessings through the stuff that I said. Through the stuff, yes, it's through, and this is where Westernism has had a problem, which is that it ran into a problem when science came around. Westernism was like, whoa, well, we don't need it. We don't need religion anymore because it's answered all the questions. No, science, technology, economy, these are all gifts of God. The world is created it's His science. It's His world. It's His economy. It's His blessings. And so it's easy to add just that one component. And so Prime Minister Netanyahu could really do just a little bit more to be able to say, hey, God is doing it, and we have a nation that's keeping the Sabbath, and we go 3 times a year to Jerusalem, and that's part of it as well. And that's the parallel tracks of spirituality, economy, and military. All right, folks.